Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Ashley Hicks. How's it going, Ashley?
Good morning. Going well?
Just us today. Joe, I don't know, still has a baby and doing baby stuff. And he's doing it. So that's it. I don't know where Kyle is. He still works here, right?
I think so. I don't know if he just jumped ship or not, but
yeah,
we'll find out.
Who knows? Yeah, we'll see. I'll check the payroll. All right. Well, let's get into it. Well, let's start with some updates since it's just two of us. We can go over that. How's life? How are things for you going, training and otherwise?
Yeah, life is going good. We came back from San Antonio and found a house. It was kind of a God thing just because it totally was not on our list. We had this list that our agent was awesome and he compiled like 15 different houses for us to see in basically like 12 hours or less. We skipped lunch. I was hangry.
That's a tough position to buy a house in.
Oh man, it's never good. But thankfully he was like, hey, I know this lady over here and let's go look. And sure enough, these houses were not on the MLS because they were randomly marked as sold. And there were 3 available. And she was like, yeah, I haven't had anybody come see me in a while. And we're like, it's probably because it's not marked as it needs to be bought. So we were very lucky. And there's some crazy rules with some new builds now. You can only write contracts for 2 a month. So that, because apparently people are just buying houses like hotcakes and they cannot control like the whole supply and demand kind of thing. And so this is their way to try to do that. So thankfully she hadn't written any contracts for this month and we were the first. So we have a house. It's exciting.
So she can only sell or go under contract on 2 houses per month?
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. Yep. That's their limit right now, just because everything, there's like a shortage of all things. So first it was like lumber shortage. And now apparently there's an AC shortage, like AC unit shortage. So that's what they're working on now. So we'll see. But our house is projected to be done towards the end of May, which works out kind of perfect because we move the end of June. So we'll just have a house and it'll be locked up. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny on this office, there was an AC shortage, but I didn't know about it. And the office was done and there was an AC obviously running. And then like 3 months later, a guy shows up with a brand new AC unit and he's like, I'm here to install your AC. And I was like, I have one. He's like, oh no, that's a loaner. He's like, that's a super old, like, we just like loaned you one of our old units. So this is the new one. I was like, I didn't even know. All right, cool. So, and then I talked to my builder and they're like, yeah, there's a shortage. So,
yeah. Other than that, training is going good. Scott and I did a training session while we were there. The hotel had like a bunch of dumbbells and stuff. So it was cool. So I did the strength workout just with dumbbells. So like a sexy Saturday version that Joe would say. But I'm on day 75. I'm trying to catch up to Kyle. I'm hoping while he's gone, he just kind of falls off the bandwagon.
He has been known to do nothing on vacation. I think he's corrected that. I really think it was only maybe one vacation that actually happened. But
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we gave him so much crap. We're like, how many times did you train last week? And he was like, 0. We're like, what? Like, what happened to you, Kyle?
Yeah. But training is great. it's kind of going along with our topic, but we did Cindy today. So, yeah, we're getting prepped. Joe is adding in some stuff, and I kind of love that because it's strength, obviously with barbell work, but like if you can't do body weight movements, like get out of here. Like I just love that he's incorporating that too, because I mean, it's strength as well. It's just a little different. So
Yeah, relative versus absolute strength. And you never really know which one you're signing up for when you get on the strength track. So Joe's doing a little bit of both, which is good.
yeah. How about you? How are things going in the moon, Casa?
Good. Last week was super challenging to get all of my training in. We had a bunch of family in town for a wedding, and just not a typical week, which just makes it a little bit more challenging. But I got it in every single day. 6 out of 7 days, which is good. So I'm still on track for 300.3. Like I said last time, like I just kind of have found a groove for it and know what I'm need to do to get it done and about how much time I need to spend in a training session. So it's been good. Nothing major to update. That was kind of life and training, because wedding stuff was all of my life last week, because it was my brother-in-law getting married. I was a groomsman. Emily was a bridesmaid. My daughter was a flower girl. My boys were ushers. Everybody was in the wedding. So it was just a lot of stuff going on, driving all over the place, because you can live in the same city in DFW, that's Dallas Fort Worth for people unfamiliar, and still be easily an hour away from each other. It's like, oh yeah, we both live in DFW, but you live on the other side of DFW, so that's 90 minutes away or whatever. So there's a lot of driving. But anyway, that's what made it more challenging, but got it in. So happy about that, and still trucking away at the Daily Over Decades Challenge. So, and I am doing Murph.
All right, so audio adjustment probably sounds a lot better for listeners there too, but also picking up from Murph. I just added it into the rotation. I think that's going to be my meet yourself, let's just say weekend, Saturday or Sunday, whichever day I can get it in. And the first one back was pretty tough. It was bad. I do think it was weather related. We're just now starting to heat up here in Texas, back kind of into the high 80s, low 90s. Really high humidity currently. I think that was part of it, but kicked my butt. So I'm looking to improve that. I'll probably do it, just every week until Memorial Day, and see where my improvement goes from there. It is. I was humbled though, as you know.
Piece of humble pie.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. Like I just feel like, it's Murph, whatever. I've done it so many times, but I feel like I was all the way back at like square one. Like,
oh man,
not doing great. We're gonna be talking about Murph a little bit later today. How to excel at that. But let's get into the study today. It is called Starving Your Performance? Question mark. Reduce pre-exercise hunger, increases resistance exercise performance. And this was done or completed in 2021. So there were 16 resistance trained men. Sorry. That participated in this study. Prior to the study, all participants were habitually consuming a solid breakfast on most days and performing resistance training regularly with back squat and bench press. Specifically, the participants had 5 plus or minus 1 years of resistance training experience, consumed breakfast 6 plus or minus 1 days per week, and were performing 4 plus or minus 1 training sessions per week. Each volunteer were their own control, because it was a crossover study, so they did each part, and so I'm going to kind of skip the super technical stuff. I think you'll get into some of that as far as like what they ate and everything else, but really they were looking at pre-exercise training meals of 2 different types, and I'll kind of let you talk about those. And they were just kind of seeing if someone was not hungry and had some carbohydrates or food in them, did they perform better, same, or worse as their control? And that's really all we're talking about, because we have a lot of garage gym athletes who come in and we get I've answered this question so many times about specifically, what should I do in the morning when I train? Should I hit this training session fasted? Should I eat something beforehand? And I think that comes up a lot and people want to know. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about this study, some science behind, maybe some considerations you should have based off of your goals, based off of this science, and whether or not you should be consuming something before you eat. So I'll dive into some more stuff, but I'll let you kick it off. What did you think about the study? Any takeaways or interesting things?
Yeah, so even though they were dudes, I was very excited because of the back squat. But I loved that they used, traditional movements that we use as garage gym athletes with the bench press. Going to failure at 90% though, we always talk about like, you don't always have to go to failure, but again, I don't think it wasn't too intense, I guess is what I'm trying to say there. But with the liquid versus semi-solid.
So those were the two conditions, which was,
right.
I thought was really weird. It was like,
yeah,
I kind of get it, but I thought it was weird. So yeah, go ahead.
So no, you're fine. But like I quoted the meal, air quotes the meal. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's why I did that. But because the liquid version is just maltodextrin. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Close enough.
Okay. And they had like orange flavoring put in, and that it's just straight carbohydrates is what it is. It's literally derived from rice, potato, wheat, and it's nothing but a crazy like carbohydrate bomb. Make you drink that. But then if you had the semi-solid state, you had that same thing, but what they did was they added xanthan gum. And if you're ever been gluten-free or done any sort of gluten-free recipe, xanthan gum is basically like it congeals stuff. So it makes sure that like ingredients stay together, especially if you're using like a gluten-free flour. But so what it did for this is it thickened it. So that way they would, so I'm just assuming that this nasty liquid orange, whatever, is now a glob that you have to chew. And yeah. I just was like, I don't know. But what they did find between the two of them, the takeaway here for it was that the semi-solid one, if you look at the table, so if you're doing the show notes, like literally the difference between the liquid and the semi-solid is very minimal. The only difference is I don't know why xanthan gum has a little bit more fiber, like 3 grams more than what it had with the liquid. But the solid stuff satiated the people more. So then they felt full versus the liquid, they weren't as full. And that in turn didn't affect their bench press one bit, but it affected their back squat. And it makes sense to me because I feel like a back squat is more of like a full body movement. Like you're controlling your core, you're controlling your legs. And with the bench press, it's more arms, kind of pecs, kind of, just, I don't know, just kind of a smaller movement. Like you're not using your full body for it. So maybe that's why I am not, 100% sold on that. But it was interesting to me that they just added this thickener. And this thickener is the only reason that made them feel more full. So for garage gym athlete takeaways, I'm not recommending a carbohydrate bomb. And granted, like think about this, they actually had to take it 2 hours prior to their workout, right? So if you're a 4:30 a.m. worker outer, like I know some people are, you're getting up at 2:30 to take this stuff to then perform. Like not worth it in my personal opinion. So if you need something that's going to make you feel more full, I really think you can still do like your water and protein, like a lot of people do. Maybe add a banana in there if you want to add some carbohydrates, or add something that has a little more carbohydrates with you used to do powdered carbs, right? Wasn't it like sweet potato stuff?
I've done a couple different ones. The sweet potato one, that was by, what's that company called now? Equip.
Yeah.
They have sweet potato. Then there was, I can't remember that. It was a pretty decent one. I remember 3 Fuel was another one I used as a carbohydrate supplement. And then I'm blanking on the third one, which is the one I actually use more often. I use during my bike race.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, they're just carbohydrate supplements, which I've stopped taking altogether. Mainly because I'm not doing these long bouts of endurance exercise. Nor am I I was kind of more like ketogenic at that time, accidentally. And so I was taking those supplements like pre-training, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think obviously any of our athletes need the amount of carbohydrates that they were giving these people. Just
Yeah.
like a fast burning carb that goes with your protein, like a banana, or, you could do the slow burning ones like Jerred did with the sweet potato, I think is just fine as like a pre workout. Again, last week we talked about post stuff and I talked about fuels course. Our fuels course also talks about what you should take prior to. Just a little plug there. But what did you think about this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I found it very interesting because this whole if it fits your macros thing, it kind of it doesn't really apply. Like maybe if we're only looking at weight loss or muscle gain or something like that, it would, but they're essentially consuming the exact same thing. The only real difference, like you're saying, is they added this thickening agent, and this thickening agent tricked their body into thinking it was full, and it had an effect. Like it actually made them lift more. They had a better resistance training performance, and that was the outcome from the study. So I find that very interesting. It's like it doesn't matter if I have 50 grams of carbohydrates pure liquid or 50 grams of carbohydrates as banana. I mean, I would think that wouldn't matter. I would think, okay, whatever, it goes in your body, I digest it, uses those carbohydrates, but that's not what it's saying. This is specifically looking at hunger. And so if you have this thickening agent and you are not hungry going into a training session, your performance is actually going to be better. And I think that is what's so interesting about the outcome of this study, because I had no idea. Like I wouldn't have thought that would be the outcome here. So that's something that people should take into account if they are truly looking at performance. And so that's what I kind of got into with what Garage Gym athletes should start taking away from this is 100% eat before you train if performance is the goal. And that's one thing that we've kind of always said, because I could pull up a couple of different studies. Some were done in 2019, 2018, even 2020, that all say training fasted does hurt performance, and specifically in resistance exercise, it hurts performance. But then you have to look at how much. It's not like I can't lift this level of performance. It's just you can't squeeze out maybe 1 to 2 reps when you're going for these all out sets or something like that. And so that's something you have to take into account. And so if performance is your goal, that means you are trying very hard to hit a specific weight on the back squat. You're going into a powerlifting meet, some sort of competition. There are very rare cases in daily garage gym athlete life where performance is that important. But if it isn't that important to you, eat before you train, and eat to a level where you are satiated. So, you need to eat something, not this giant meal, but something that's going to make you satiated. And it looks like it needs to be more than just some sort of, protein shake. You need something else. You need to add, like I commonly eat fruit before training if I need to get something in my stomach before I go, and protein, something like that. I'll definitely do that before. So if performance is a goal. Now, if you're just looking for general health or weight loss, don't worry about it so much. It's not going to matter that much, because training fasted has a lot of benefits, especially in cardio, but same with lifting. And so if you are more for looking for those things, weight loss, general health, then don't worry about it. This isn't that big of a deal, but this is very interesting data that you can kind of put into your toolbox, so you know how things are going to work. Or if you're doing a Spartan race or something like that, you're probably going to want to have something in your stomach. And also the interesting thing about those carbohydrate supplements I've taken, they had, I don't know if it was xanthan gum, but they had thickening agents in them, almost to the point where they were kind of gross. Like they would thicken up really like a lot, to where because they even said in the study that they had to eat this liquid, whatever, like semi-liquid, with a spoon. And it's just like getting stuck to the sides, and things that do that. If people are interested how they can do that, because I consume a shake, not as much now because I kind of moved all my shake ingredients to oatmeal. So I'm not doing my shake as much, but it has a lot of the same stuff in it. But when I was doing a shake more regularly, if you need to thicken it up, chia seeds is a great way to do that. Once chia seeds get wet, they do the same
They
thing.
congeal. Yep.
Yeah, they congeal and they will thicken up a shake very easily. So that's something that you could add to your shakes. And then I forgot the name of it, and I meant to go look at it before the podcast. When I got my blood work done last year, they were like, your cholesterol is a little high. We recommend this. And I can't remember what it was. It's some sort of like fiber. And like it, I apologize for not like being prepared and knowing what this was called. Maybe like Jerusalem root or something. But the tiniest amount, we're talking like a teaspoon of this stuff in your shake will just like stop the blades on your blender. Like it thickens it up
Whoa.
so much. And Emily already knew about it when I got it. I was like, I don't know. They said, take this. I'm going to start adding it to my shake. She's like, good luck. And that's exactly what happened. Of course
you did.
Yeah. I added it to my shake and it turned into like what they were talking about. So it's very hard to consume. But if you do consume a shake or something beforehand, chia seeds is an easy way to do that, to make it a little bit thicker, maybe fill your stomach a little bit more and hit that performance goal. But again, if that's not your goal, don't worry about those things too much. I don't think it's that big of a deal. If you're just, general health, wellness, all that other stuff.
Yeah. Especially because the stuff that they were taking was ultra processed, like disgusting.
And that's why I moved away from these carbohydrate supplements. Cause one, it's kind of silly. I feel like it's just kind of a waste of money. Like there is a convenience factor there. If you're like on a bike and you're doing a really long ride and you need something, like that's what would happen to me. I would run out. I would just completely burn all of my glycogen stores about halfway through the ride. And I almost couldn't, like I could keep moving, but the performance was horrible. And it took me a lot of experimentation to realize, okay, if I hit 30 minutes into the ride, I consume the carbohydrate supplement, I can continue like a 90-minute ride, no problem, no backing down on like performance wise. But those are the things that you have to kind of take into account. What are you doing? Is it necessary? So yeah, a lot of things to look at there. But I stopped taking them because whatever, you can eat a banana, you can eat an apple, like it's
throw some berries
easy.
in.
Yeah, you're paying like $40 a bag for carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are like the easiest thing to eat on the planet, in relation to anything else. So
very true.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Really cool study. Do what you will with that information. All of our Garage Gym athletes, like based off of your goals, but that one's pretty cool. And there was another study that to back this one up, it had similar findings. So it does appear there's some sort of mechanism, which they didn't dive into fully, but like some sort of mechanism behind hunger that hurts your performance. So don't train hungry if you want performance. If you don't want performance, who cares? All right, now we can hop into the study or the topic. So we're talking about Murph. And last week we talked about Murph, but it was more in relation to a little bit of prep work, getting into Murph, things to think about and consider. And now we're moving to the next level of Murph prep. And it's really like how to excel at Murph. How do you get if you're looking to hit a PR? And to be honest, I think this conversation will be applicable for a lot of our athletes, because if you've been around Garage Gym Athlete for, let's say, at least 6 months to a year, you have probably done Murph once. Either we programmed it, or you realize how big of a deal the workout is in the community. You tried it, or you've just been doing it every week for a year, or Chris Morgan every week for 5 years, or however many years he's been doing it. So now you want to know, like, okay, how do I get a faster time? And I feel like on Memorial Day, that's the day to do it. Even if you've been doing the Zone 2 versions or whatever, like that's the day to go hard, push yourself, and really try and get that faster time. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So what do you got? How do we excel at Murph?
So I'm going to give my tips. I'm going to give like a little asterisk here. You guys are blessed to have the king of Murph on this podcast. So listen to Jerred, but I will tell you what has worked for me, and you can see if it is, works for you too. I say, for me, I cannot go super hard out the gate, which is so hard for me for Murph. I don't know why it is. I'm not competing against anybody but myself, right? But I get these like nerves or this excitement right prior to. And so I find that because I'm so hyped or so excited to get this done, and I kind of do my first mile a little too hot out the gate.
It's very easy to happen.
Yeah. And then I, PR the mile with the vest on, and I'm like, well, this is going to go great. But so you kind of have to, I don't want to say pace yourself, but you have to bring it down to, like, my thing was 85, maybe 90% for me. That's where I would start. And then even the first round of calisthenics, like, you get in and you just start it. But again, like, at kind of a paced rate for me. I don't know, like, if you're trying to PR and get faster here, I know that you have to be continuously moving. That's, like, you cannot slow down a bit. So I'm interested to see where you think that you should start to redline, if you will, or push it. But yeah. And then for me too, it's a mental state. Like I said, I get pumped. I love stuff like this. I love challenges and pushing myself, but also, like, you aren't being shot at. Like, know what this workout is for, right? Know, yes, it's to honor a man that sacrificed his life to save his team, right? So the coolest way to honor him is, like, do this workout in his memory. So just know you're not being shot at, and you're not falling off cliffs. And that because of sacrifices like this guy, we get to live in this cool place where we're free to do a lot of things. So take advantage of that in this workout, and kind of, like, I kind of mentally, like, I don't know, prep myself. Even as I'm running, I kind of think of it. And then I always talk about music. And for me, I just know that tempo is huge, and music is a way for me to kind of not shut my brain off, but kind of get lost in it, right? Like, get lost in the beat almost. So I like to prep myself with a playlist prior to. I used to do this too when I wanted to PR my mile time, or anything like that. So the night prior, or maybe a couple days prior, even if you have to buy that, sign up for the free Spotify trial or something for 14 days. So that way you can, like, create your own significant playlist. What songs work for you, get that in there.
There'd be nothing worse than a commercial in the middle of your,
right?
your playlist.
Those ads that are like, do you need, a new car, or whatever the heck it is. But, and then I was going to point it to, Jerred actually wrote an article after, I don't know if this was after your first time or your second time, but it's
first, yeah.
How to not suck at Murph and actually how to crush it. And so I will link that in the show notes, but it's a lot of good information. He kind of breaks down what he did and saw, like, the different PRs that he did. But then at the very end, he gives you, like, points of, like, how to actually get after it, which I'll let him take the cake on that. But
yeah, so the just my history with Murph, if anybody's unfamiliar. First, thanks Ashley for mentioning who Michael Murphy was. I think that's a really important part to think about when you're doing this workout. And I did this workout my very first time. I was in college, and there was this Marine who, like, had me do the workout. I didn't actually even know it was called Murph. I think he called it by its original name, which was body armor, which is what Murph called it. And so I did that, absolutely kicked my ass. Like, that was probably 2008 or something like that. It was the first time I did it, 2009. I don't even know. Could have even been 2010. I don't know. But it was somewhere back then. And then I started doing it all the time. Because I was a physical training leader in the Air Force. I would have our airmen do it. We did it quite frequently. And then eventually I started doing it once a week. I decided to do that. I wanted to get better at it. And my intention, to be honest, with doing that was to go fast. There was no, I didn't take it on originally as, like, a mental challenge and consistency, or, like, trying to push myself. It was really like, I just actually wanted to get better at that workout, see how fast I could go. And so I started doing it on a weekly basis. And I did it for a full year, and I got some really fast times. And, back then, I don't even recall all my times. I'd have to look at my training logs, but I mean, without a vest, I was getting into, like, the sub 25 range, I think.
Wow.
And I think there was, like, a high 24 without a vest, and then with a vest, it was, I don't recall either, like, maybe sub 30, something like that. But I got really good at the workout, and I'm not there right now. And it irritates me. This last one kind of irritates me that I'm not as good. So I think I will be doing Murph quite a bit more, trying to see if I can bring back a little bit of my speed to this workout. But I was never training to do it more than anyone else or put it like some ungodly amount of times, or, that was never my intent. My intent has always been get good at this workout, go fast. And then once like world record conversations started coming up and everything, Guinness Book of World Records said they won't recognize it, or at least at the time they said they wouldn't recognize this workout. I think due to how many variations there are, and there are, and people will crap on this workout anytime they get a chance. If I'm like, oh, I did it this fast, they're like, oh, well, you did it partition. You're not allowed to do it partitioned. And I'm like, I've done it every freaking way possible, and partitioned is just the fastest. And given my goal is to do it the fastest possible, that's why I do it partitioned. So a lot of
Yeah, it
backstory
doesn't
here.
suck any less. I don't understand why people do that.
I think it sucks so much more. And
Yeah.
I say this every time we talk about Murph. The partition version sucks so much more because you don't have very many reasons to slow down. If you can do 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 15 squats unbroken that entire time, it's going to suck so much worse because nobody can do 100 unbroken pull-ups.
Right.
I mean, maybe someone can, right? But like probably not in a Murph workout.
Right.
And so the fact that that's true means all you're going to be doing is hitting muscle failure, resting until you can get back on the bar, hitting muscle failure, resting until you and so all that resting and muscle failure, while it does burn or hurt a little bit, in no way makes the workout harder. You get to sit around and do nothing more in that workout. So that's why I don't prefer it. It's easier and it's slower. The non-partition version. And people like to argue with me on that, but you have to do it more times than me to argue with me on it is my take.
That'll be hard to do.
So getting into the actual going fast part. So the first mile, Ashley hit the nail on the head. You don't want to go as fast as you possibly can. That's an incredibly advanced strategy. I started doing that maybe after I'd done Murph like 100 times. I was able to like just sprint basically the first mile, get back to the calisthenics. And I have a screenshot of like my heart rate during one of those. And it was zone 5 the whole time, zone 5 the entire time. Cause I sprinted the mile, wouldn't let myself break on the calisthenics, and then sprinted the second mile as fast as I could. And those are painful. I don't like to push myself that hard anymore. I don't think it's good for you. But anyway, first mile needs to be your fastest sustainable pace, which is kind of what Ashley was saying. You don't want to sandbag it here, but you don't want to go too fast either. So did you say 85% effort there?
I said 85, maybe 90.
Yeah, that's probably right. So 85, 90, and that would be percentage of your, if you want to like actually calculate times of your mile PR. So whatever your mile PR is, doing 90% pacing on that is what you should be aiming for. And you can practice that. Now after that, and that's going to be mile time with a vest on. So just there's a slight difference. There's not a big difference. There's a slight difference.
That's a good difference.
And now when you get to the calisthenics, this is where you can actually greatly improve your time. I always talk about the miles. Like if you want to get faster at Murph, you need to do a lot of zone 2 training. You really need to expand your aerobic base to run faster miles. So there's not a lot you can do on the miles, but there's a lot you can do on the calisthenics just by adjusting your strategy. So the first one is no breaks. Like there should be no breaks unless you actually are reaching muscle failure, especially if you're doing the partitioned one. And I know some people who even partition lower. They'll do like 40 sets of whatever that would be, as opposed to 20 sets of 5, 10, 15. And so do whatever you can. I even like, I think Joe came up with a strategy of doing like 5 push-ups, 10, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. He threw in another set of 5 pull-ups somewhere in there. It
wasn't pull-ups. I think he's saying like break up your push-ups. And
on the other side,
like 5 and 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you don't reach that muscle failure. So the fact that the workout states that you can partition in any way you want means you can do that. You just have to calculate out like what's that going to be. So going back to no breaks, you want to partition the reps in such a way that you will not reach muscle failure. That's the main thing there. So that's the first tip. Your squats need to be as fast as humanly possible. That's also where a lot of people are losing time is just these slow ass squats, like resting at the top. There's no need for it. You should be going as soon as those hips open up, you should be on your way back down. And so squats must be fast. Now, as far as setting up, low pull-up bar, if you have the option to have a lower pull-up bar, I think I have 3 or 4 pull-up options in my gym, in my garage. And I have one that's just like an inch out of my max reach. And so that's perfect for being able to do quick pull-ups. There's not a lot of transition because I had a pull-up bar in my previous house. I think the ceilings were like 10 feet or something. I had to jump up to get like an 8-foot pull-up bar, which is stupid. And it costs energy, it costs time. So lower pull-up bar, quick transitions between all the reps, and then keep your chalk close if you are going to use chalk. Now, another thing, I said no breaks. So if you're going to use chalk on your hands, you should be chalking your hands during your squats, not sitting around chalking in between rounds. So what I do is I keep the bag on my squat rack, and while I'm doing the squats, I will just grab the ball and chalk up while I'm doing squats and then set the ball down. And then that way there's no need to break by the time I get back on the pull-up bar. And again, this is if you want to go really fast. And then the last thing to do on the calisthenics, use a stopwatch for every lap or round of calisthenics. So every 5, 10, 15, I'm hitting my watch after that 15th squat, and I'm making sure that I'm on pace. And, you can kind of determine what you want. For me, depending on how fast I want to go, I might be trying to keep my calisthenics between 35 and 45 seconds. If I'm trying to go a little bit slower, maybe 45 to 60 seconds, but I know I can't go above like a certain amount, because if it's 20, and I'm at a minute per round, that's already 20 minutes. And then I got to add those miles on there. So you can, again, calculate out what you need to. And then that's a great way to keep yourself like at a pace, at an uncomfortable pace. Because if you just kind of like see what happens and you throw in some rest and some chalk breaks, you're going to be at like 35 minutes for the calisthenics and you'll be like, what happened? And so use a stopwatch. And then lastly, I actually do this. I used to stay just kind of like burn it to the ground on the last mile, but I actually stopped doing that in the last year of Murph, because if you go really, really hard on the calisthenics and you're not quite accustomed to it yet, your legs aren't going to be super usable. They're going to feel a little sluggish when you go to that second mile. So your first 1/8 to 1/4, and that's it. That's as far as you go, can be recovery. So slower run. And that's how much time you get to recover. And your body will recover during that time period because you're not doing those reps anymore. And then you pick up the pace slightly between let's just say quarter to the half mile point. But then once you get to that half mile point, this is where we get to burn it to the ground conversation. So for me, that last half mile is where I'm truly trying to burn it to the ground. So I might go from, honestly, let's say a 7-minute mile pace in the first half to a sub 6-minute pace in the last half to average out at maybe the 6 that I want. And so that is the approach there, going really fast. Now, a half is a long way to sprint for most people. So that could also be your last quarter. And you kind of have to, because if you go all out on a half and you can't actually do that, then you're going to bonk pretty hard and you might end up walking your last quarter. So for most people, it's going to be the last quarter that you're going to sprint, but you don't want to ever get to like, you sprinted that last quarter mile and then you're like, oh, man, I could have done more. I could have sprinted more. You never want that feeling. If you did, then you could have gone faster and you have to do it the next time. But that is it. That's very detailed, I feel, and helpful. Yeah. So a lot of breakdowns of how to attack Murph.
I remember when we did Murph together, watching you, and you did like kind of a double of calisthenics. So instead of doing 5, 10, 15, you would do 10, 20, 30. Do you recommend doing any of that if you are feeling fresh or?
I'll do that time to time, just kind of based on feel, or if I'm getting annoyed with how long I feel like it's taking me to do something. Okay. But again, that's like, you kind of have to know your body in calisthenics. Like if you feel like you can handle, what would that be, a 10, 20, 30, then knock it out, and throw it in there wherever you want. Like sometimes I'll even do, like if I'm at round 17, I might just do the last 3 all lumped together just because I want to be done. And, because transitions take time too. So if you can eliminate a transition, even if you go a little bit slower, just a tiny bit slower by doing more repetitions, you eliminate a transition, a set of transitions, 2, 3 transitions. And so you can go faster.
Yeah. I just remember looking at you being pissed because that was my first time doing Murph vested. I don't know if you knew that or not, was with you. And then
Nice.
of course you only had like the man weight vest. So, which I know is only a couple extra pounds, but I'm breaking up 5 pull-ups. I'm doing like 3 and 2. And here you are just butterflying 10 like they're nothing. And I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah, that's it's fun. It's a good workout. I think I definitely, after this piss poor performance on this past weekend, it's really like motivated me to not get to like world record level or anything like that, but I want to get some fast Murph times going again, because that wasn't cool.
I'm excited to hear how that goes. It'll be good.
Let's get into the workout. I don't know, arguably as hard as Murph. Depends on how
Tyler is terrible.
Depends on how you break it down. So plank you, Tyler. Do you have it ready to brief?
Yeah. So it's 10 minutes. Well, you want to accumulate 10 minutes in a plank, but caveat, every time you have to drop from the plank, you then run a mile and do 50 push-ups. Gracious.
And release push-ups.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't. Oh my gosh, man. So for this one, like, I hate to say, like, you're gonna have to like really hold the plank of as long as you possibly can do it. So just meaning like, if you know that like you can hold a plank for like 5 minutes, like that's the longest you've held, let's say, I don't know, during a PR week or a fit week or whatnot. Even then, I think it's a front leaning rest. It's not even a plank, but I would almost like suggest, don't laugh at me, like put on like a YouTube show or something to like get your mind off of it. So that way you could just sit there and hold the plank. I know that's Marco's technique. He's like, I just put on a little show and I just hold. I'm like, okay.
We had the abdominal snowman, right? And that was like, was that 30
But that's
minutes?
a front leaning rest, isn't it? Or is it a plank?
No, I think it's front leaning rest, but it's just the same vein, like,
yeah.
I feel like if you've done that workout, that might put this in better, like, doability terms, like you might know how long you can hold the plank. Some people, 10 minutes is ridiculous. Some people could probably hold 10-minute plank easy.
Just fine.
And yeah, no penalties, or I don't like to call them penalties, like no additional benefits,
no extra work.
Fitness. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like but when you drop, I feel like the push-ups are going to tax you. Mm-hmm. Like the mile obviously is going to tax you, but I feel like the push-ups is going to tax you to where when you're holding the next plank, ooh, like after that's maybe 60 seconds after that one, you're like, I need to drop again. And that's when this is where it gets to be that mental side where you have to be like, no, you will not drop, like hold it as long as you can. Because then if you're dropping 3, 4, 5 times, like this is where it gets spicy.
Nasty. Yeah, depending on your ability to plank for 10 minutes. And I'll say, if you are listening and you're going to do this workout and you can hold a 10-minute plank, make it 20, whatever. Like this, the goal of the workout is honestly not to be a 10-minute plank. It's to get some miles and hand release push-ups in there. If you want to feel the burn, a lot of people can't hold a 10-minute plank. So for everyone else, it's fine. But if you
Maybe
can
5.
hold because I think we had some athletes do the abdominal snowman and like they did it in like 2 sets or like whatever, And so it's like, if you're that person, make this a 20-minute plank, 30-minute plank, whatever you have to do to make it worse, because you want to get some benefit out of it beyond just like holding the plank. But that's, again, very advanced strategy. Otherwise, I think, yeah, you're going to get super fatigued on those hand release push-ups, and it's going to ruin the plank. Miles, I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't say
fast as you want, like your time is your time, like whatever you can fit in there. So Yeah.
No,
I don't
everyone's
have
gonna
much
come
else.
back with the zone 2 mile now.
Well, this one's like gamed for you. Like you can't game it as much.
Right.
Because you could sandbag the mile, that's fine. But hand release push-ups are hand release push-ups, and they're going to do what they're going to do to your ability to plank. So yeah, competitors wear vest. And that's it.
Sucks.
Got anything else for this one?
No. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. All right, well, we'll get out of here. Thanks everybody for listening or watching if you're on YouTube, and for all of our garage gym athletes out there sticking with the Daily Over Decades Challenge, being awesome, part of the community. We do appreciate you guys. And then for anyone looking to sign up, get started with us, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can sign up for a 14-day free trial. We'd love to have you. And remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.